So what's been going on? So what's happening? So if you've noticed, right, the past week, Asian Americans have been calling for more more mainstream media coverage, right? The mainstream media doesn't cover what's happening with Asian Americans. Mainstream media doesn't care what's going on. The United States, America does not care what's going on with Asian Americans. We've seen the Instagram posts, we've seen the hashtags, we get it, right? we're on the same boat, right? I agree with that. They don't care. Funny thing happened this week where CNN, ABC, MSN, New York Times, all the mainstream media outlets, CBS, Washington Post, they all decided, hey, we're gonna cover this story. Okay, we're gonna cover this story on Asian American elders being assaulted, robbed, and murdered. Okay, and so I thought to myself, as I was reading these articles that started coming out maybe about 4 or 5 days ago, well, this is strange, right? This is strange. Look at mainstream media finally picking up these stories, right? Look at the mainstream media outlets finally giving a damn, finally caring, right? After Asians hollering, they're finally caring. They're finally listening to us, guys. We're getting some traction, guys. It was a little bit delayed, but I try to think positively, right? Well, at least they're doing it. At least mainstream media is covering our stories. Okay? It's a good thing, right? Mainstream media coverage, it's what we've been asking for. Can't hurt. Can't hurt, right? Well, let's actually read some of the articles. All right, so I took a couple of excerpts, right, from a couple of different articles. I'll start with CNN. Okay, how pandemic rhetoric sparked anti-Asian bias. Still, they have a heightened existing concerns around the rising anti-Asian bigotry, which has become more prominent since the world first learned of a new illness in Wuhan, China. It's absolutely tragic and unfortunate that this has been the trend we've seen over the past year with respect to anti-Asian violence, and a lot of it stemming from the rhetoric that we've seen related to the coronavirus, said John C. Yang, the president and executive director of the civil rights organization Asian Americans Advancing Justice. That rhetoric started with the former President Donald Trump, who repeatedly referred to the illness as China virus. Okay, ABC. Let's go to ABC. ABC. While police say the motives for the attacks, which include robbery and people being assaulted, is unclear, it comes amid continued concern about anti-Asian and anti-Chinese sentiment surrounding the coronavirus pandemic and its origins in Wuhan, China. Since the beginning of the pandemic, Asian American communities have been targeted and on guard for hate. Critics say former President Donald Trump helped fuel the hate towards China and Chinese Americans over the issue since the beginning of the pandemic, often derisively referring to the coronavirus as the China virus or Kung flu, and continuously blaming China for the pandemic. President Joe Biden has since signed an executive order directing federal agencies to combat coronavirus-fueled harassment and called the attacks on the Asian American community unacceptable, but still the violence has not stopped. Okay. All right. Washington Post. Last one, guys. Washington Post. COVID-fueled anti-racism. Now elderly Asian Americans are being attacked. Asian Americans have increasingly been targeted since the start of the pandemic. Former President Donald Trump inaccurately called the coronavirus the China virus and blamed the country for the pandemic. The first known coronavirus outbreak was in Wuhan, China, but scientists are still trying to discover the virus's origin. All right. Okay, guys, so look, I just read you from 3 prominent mainstream media outlets excerpts about what's happening. I just read you some excerpts. Now, what do you think? What do you hear, or what do you see that all these articles have in common? I need my Asian American community here to do just a little bit critical thinking. All right, just a little bit, guys. What do all these articles have in common? Okay, my fellow Asian American brothers and sisters, man, we really need to think what's going on here. Yeah, we really need to think what is really going on with the mainstream media's journalism, right? If you want to call it that, right? What kind of narrative are they trying to spin here? What are they trying to say here? Okay? So if you haven't figured it out by now, the idea, right, or the narrative or the big picture that mainstream media is trying to paint, violent crimes against our elderly is due to Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the problem. Donald Trump is the problem, guys. It's because of Donald Trump that you see, Vicha get murdered, that you see Asian elderly women get robbed. It's because of Donald Trump, okay? Because Donald Trump somehow inspired these young black men, inspired the youth of the black community to go out there and harass, assault, rob, murder. Is anyone... You guys see where I'm going with this, right? You guys have to see where I'm going with this, okay? Now I get it. Okay, so now I get it. Now I get it. I see why mainstream media is finally giving coverage. It makes sense now, okay? Because I'm not gonna lie. Initially, I was a little shocked, right? And I was excited and shocked, like, wow, we're getting some coverage. This is good. But as I read all these articles, every single one of these articles had a main theme in common. Blame Donald Trump, right? Blame Donald Trump.